Thank you, ma'am.
Written testimony that is submitted to the committee, we will absolutely accept up until, what time did I say, 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock tonight. After that point, we can no longer accept written testimony to enter into the record as part of this hearing. I will absolutely, as chairman, make sure that if we get written testimony after this public testimony, after 9 o'clock tonight, I will see that these staff members are much more technologically astute than I am. They can put it into a Dropbox or do something to make sure that all members of, not just this committee, if you want one, we'll put you on the list too, Senator. Please. But at 9 o'clock tonight, we have to cut off acceptance of written testimony to be entered in as a part of this public hearing.
Right. I'm advised that some people are being told that they can't submit written testimony. So if they can, who do they give it to?
There is a registration desk right here.
Okay.
Or any registration point, if that written testimony is provided, we will make sure that it is entered into the record.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, they just took a break? They're on a little break, and they'll be back, and we welcome written testimony.
Speaking of breaks, is it your intention that we will have no breaks?
We will have no breaks. You might see the chair, I have a teacher's ladder, but you might see the chair get up and leave for a couple minutes. But it is my intent to run straight through the night. We're going to finish this hearing, and I want to be sure to give the public ample opportunity to testify. I would ask members of the committee and guest senators, if you have questions that you absolutely have to ask, keep them brief. Otherwise, I'd like to keep things rolling with the public.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call the first 6 individuals, and for everyone in this room, I'm not going to ask you to state your name, who you represent, where you live. Just do it, please, so that I don't have to keep saying that. Here we go. The first panel will be Mark Einokoff, Art Stratton, Suzanne Castillo, Ken Roberts, Rachel Maloom, and Brian Jackson. The next panel will be Darlene Davis, Melissa Tucker, Kate Gaham, Peggy Morton, Laura Ramsey, and Sarah Schimmer. There will be a timer, the lights in front of you. Mark, ready, roll. Go ahead.
Sorry. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
No longer morning. I'm Mark Einokoff from Eastern Williamson County, represented by Dr. Schwertner. And I just wanted to briefly talk about, what's the definition of what we're talking about here? We're talking about abortion. And what does abortion do? It kills an innocent child. So the question is really, when is it okay to kill an innocent child? When is it okay to kill the innocent? We've talked a lot about procedures, who can do it, at what locations. And so I bring you no new evidence, I bring you no new statistics, no research, but the question before us is, when is it okay to kill an innocent child? And the reason I bring no evidence is because the evidence is right before you. Indeed, it's within each of you, it's within your heart, it's within your mind, within your conscience. You already know the answer to that question, and the answer is never. You know it's always wrong to kill an innocent child. Everyone on this panel knows it. Senator Zaffarini knows it, Senator West knows it, Senator Nichols, everyone knows it. Everyone who will testify knows it, regardless of the color of the shirt they wear, that abortion is wrong. It's wrong to kill the innocent. This bill will slightly reduce, I think in my mind, the number of abortions in Texas. I support it for that reason. It is one step, a small step, in our return to a civil society where the innocent are no longer threatened with slaughter. And I ask you, before you vote, is just to stop for 2 minutes in a quiet room by yourself, ask your conscience, right or wrong, is it okay to kill the innocent? And vote your conscience. And I expect a unanimous result from this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
My name is Art Stratton. I live in Webster, Texas, and my senator is Larry Taylor. I am against SB 1 because I think it tries to solve a problem but creates more problems. I believe that the issue, if it's okay with you, I'm going to be I won't be speaking to everything in my right up here because you guys have addressed so many with these expert witnesses. So the relevant points are, I think that the issue is desperate women without hope, resorting to something all of us would not rather happen, perpetuating cycles of poverty, malnutrition, disease, and crime that fill up our overcrowded crisis centers, hospitals, and prisons. Raising the ambulatory standards for every clinic to be the same as the 6 best abortion facilities without compensatory funds or exemptions for lack of advanced services within commuting range of the triple clients is tantamount to shutting down 30 of them. I don't believe that removing abortion clinics is going to reduce the number of abortions, because we're not addressing the needs of the women that are seeking these abortion services in their desperation, and it takes us back to the days of unsafe abortions. The way to shut down abortion clinics is to take care of the clients before that terrible need arises.
Ms. Castillo?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. My name is Suzanne Castillo. I am for this bill. I live in Atascosa, Texas. Senator Uresti is my senator. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just a senator. I'm just a citizen, and I'm not going to be politically correct today. I wish the killing of babies was not legal, but it is, and I believe that this bill just makes sense. Many of the senators today have that have spoken so far have indicated that they are pro-life, yet they oppose this bill. If this bill will save more babies, which it obviously will, then we should be for it. If it will raise the standards for women's health, who can argue with that? We should be praising this bill, not opposing it, if you truly are pro-life. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, Senator Nelson and the committee. My name is Ken Roberts. I'm a constituent of Senator John Whitmire. I'm against the bill. I came from Houston today because I, like many others, feel very passionately about SB number 1. Based on my many years of experience as a volunteer at Planned Parenthood and with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, it's clear to me that this bill would harm women. I am not alone. Given that ACOG, Texas Medical Association, clinic patients, and the majority of Texans are against this bill, the burden of evidence is upon the bill's proponents to justify going against the medical community. To that I ask, how many lives will be saved by this bill on a net basis, and at what financial cost? Addressing the latter first, not only will patients incur additional costs from travel, time off work, increased facility costs, but the bill will cost the state and taxpayers money. SB number 1 will result in more pregnancies going to term, and there will be more pregnancies overall due to reduced access to birth control. This means that more pregnancies paid for by Medicaid. Additionally, there will be the ongoing cost of an unwanted, unplanned child is raised. This bill costs all taxpayers money. And how many women's lives will be saved by this bill? Can someone cite how many of the patients this past decade who have died during an abortion would have survived had it been in an ASC? In Texas, this will be significantly less than 1 per year. And that's not the whole story. How many women will now die carrying their pregnancies to term, pregnancies that they would have aborted without this bill? Germane to this analysis is the maternal death rate of a full-term pregnancy is about 10 times that of a pregnancy terminated during the first trimester. Exacerbating this are the elevated and high-risk pregnancies that will now be carried to term when they would have been safely aborted without this bill. SB number 1 will kill women. The proponents of this bill will be killing women. They are killing women. Why? Because they will win them votes in their primaries. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Malone?
My name is Rachel Malone. I'm from Maynard, Texas, and I am speaking in support of SB 1. I'd like to address a couple issues regarding equality and fairness. First of all, regarding governmental regulations. This bill obviously regulates the abortion clinics to bring them up to standards of ambulatory surgical centers. I am not a fan, in general, of governmental regulations. However, I'm even less of a fan of unfair regulations. And so if you can bring me a bill that takes away all the regulations of any of these people who are opposing this bill, or remove the regulations for the ambulatory surgical centers, including all those as well as the abortion clinics, okay, I can stand alongside you to support that if you're removing it from abortion clinics as well as the other outpatient procedure clinics. But as long as you still have those regulations in outpatient procedure clinics, I encourage the fairness of standards across the board there. Second issue is the right to life. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are the right to life, liberty, and happiness. Abortion is, by definition, infringement of that right for all the unborn. A lot of people are saying this bill makes abortion safe. I disagree. I believe abortion can never be safe because it is, by definition, the taking of lives of half the people involved in the abortion procedure. It is infringement of the right to life of the unborn. And so if SB 1 does fall short of protecting that right to life for all of the unborn, however, it takes a major step forward in protecting that right to life for unborn babies who are at 20 weeks from conception. And so I encourage you to support that. I'm representing myself today. I'm also representing the silent cries of millions of babies who have been killed by abortion. I ask you to remember those silent cries not only in this legislation, but in legislation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
Hi, my name is Brian Jackson, and I'm here in Austin, and I voted for Kirk Watson. I'm here because I have a lot of concerns about this bill, in particular the fundamental tension that we have between when our Constitution typically grants rights of citizenship. And in Roe v. Wade decision, it's tended to be interpreted at birth, and therefore we have a partial birth abortion ban. But changing the standard from birth to pain is kind of a problematic step to go legislatively and fundamentally, because, you know, does somebody lose your citizenship when you take an Advil, or are there other parts of pain that supersede your citizenship rights? And that's just scary. As a person that I tend to like my bodily sovereignty and my autonomy, I can't imagine that another being's pain would necessarily supersede my right to function as a human being. And I think it's a really problematic pathway to go just in that direction, not to mention all the other problems with the bill. It just doesn't solve any health crisis. And I would really appreciate it if you stop, you know, calling this a women's health bill. There's nothing that's going to make this more healthful for women or safer for anyone else. And if we can drop that, then maybe, like Senator Zaffirini had said, we can come to some agreement in places where we can stop the need for abortions, because nobody wants there to be a need, but it needs to be safe, it needs to be legal, and it needs to allow people to exert their autonomy and their sovereignty as human beings. And so, thank you for your time today.